Hey everybody, it's GoblinoX, and welcome back to my third premiere draft of Kaladesh Remastered. Before I hop into this draft, just a quick disclaimer to get out of the way. This video is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast via the Magic Arena Content Creator Program. There's a challenge going on for the next month here that if you produce a sponsored live stream or video of you playing a premiere draft, Wizards will send you a premiere draft token if you're in the Magic Arena Content Creator Program. So, I am making this video for that challenge, so I'm going to make sure to have the hashtag sponsored on this so I can get a premiere draft token for this draft. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's hop back into the format. The last couple drafts have gone pretty well. 7-1 and 7-2, great start to the format, and this draft is off to a pretty fantastic start as well. We've got a mythic rare planeswalker as our pick one, pack one, a Johnny Unyielding, 4 green and a white for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. +2, you get to reveal the top 3 cards of your library, put all non-land permanents revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on bottom. -2, exile a creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power, and the ultimate, -9 to put 5 +1/+1 counters on all of your creatures, and 5 loyalty counters onto all of your planeswalkers. So this seems really good. At the very worst, this is a 6 mana, exile any creature and have its controller gain life equal to its power, which is not great, but that would only be if you cast it and it immediately dies. If you can keep this on the board for a couple turns, say you're in a board stall or something, like most planeswalkers, this is just going to give you a massive amount of card advantage over the course of the game with that +2 ability, and if the board stall goes long enough, it's going to be pretty impossible to lose after that ultimate -9. So really powerful card there. Pretty nice to pick that up as our pick one. So if we want to take a card to go with our Johnny Unyielding here, just stay with our colors, Revoke Privileges would be a great pick. It's just an efficient removal spell that also shuts down crewing vehicles, which is kind of important. Seeing as vehicles are some pretty big threats in this format. There's Thriving Rhino, which is a pretty decent-sized creature for its mana cost. 3 mana for a 2/3, enters with 2 energy, but when you attack with it, you can spend that 2 energy to put a counter on it. So after it attacks, you can spend the energy it came with, and then it's basically a 3 mana 3/4. Propeller Pioneer, 4 mana for a 2/1 with Fabricate 1, so it can be a 3/2 flyer or a 2/1 flyer with a 1/1 servo. So these are all good cards. Dawnfeather Eagle as well, if you're going wide with a lot of creatures, these are all good cards for our colors. I'm going to go with Revoke Privileges here. The best off-color card is probably Hungry Flames, followed by that red-white uncommon there. Here we have a Beaumont Courier as the rare in this pack. I think that card is pretty good, but obviously we're not really trying to go red here. It's not like fantastic. I'd say it's on par with just like a decent uncommon. We also do have Skywhaler's Shot, 3 mana for an instant to destroy a creature with power 3 or greater and scry 1. This is a good removal spell. It also gives you a little bit of scry, so you can make sure that you're drawing gas afterwards. And Hunt the Weak is good removal as well. 4 mana, sorcery, +1/+1 counter on a creature and have it fight something else, but it does require you to have a creature out that is going to be bigger than whatever you're fighting. So definitely just going to roll with the Skywhaler's Shot here. We'll just stick to taking a bunch of decent removal. Maybe we'll just be green-white control, trying to protect in a Johnny Unyielding. This pack is very empty in terms of our colors. There's no green or white cards here, and the rare is completely off-color. It's literally every color that we haven't taken so far. It's also not the most insane card. The coolest thing about this spell is the secondary part, where it can add like loyalty counters to your Bolas planeswalkers, but obviously that is not that is not an effect that works in limited. So this pack is really not that spicy. I guess we're taking the Ballista Charger. I've actually never seen a Ballista Charger attack. I've cast it in my first draft, and I've had it cast against me in the second draft a couple times. But it was always just like the threat of it getting crewed was super scary, so it always just got removed, or the creatures that would be able to crew it got removed. But yeah, potentially, I mean, crew 3 to have this be a 6/6 that pings something for a damage, whatever it attacks, is pretty strong. Pretty large creature there. Ooh, Riparian Tiger, another pretty large creature. 5 mana for a 4/4 trample. It comes with 2 energy, and when it attacks, you can spend that to give it +2/+2 until end of turn. There's also Audacious Infiltrator, which, while being really low toughness, so it's really easy to kill it, it is really good at crewing stuff. A lot of vehicle crew costs in this format are crew 3, so a 3-power creature at an efficient mana cost, like only 2 mana, is really good at crewing stuff. But I don't know if we're going to end up with a whole ton of vehicles. Obviously, red-white is kind of the color scheme that is super hyper-focused on vehicles, and with Ajani Unyielding, I think we really want to have as many just, like, actual creatures as possible, rather than vehicles to crew. And that is kind of the green-white strategy in a lot of limited formats. It's just spread out a bunch of small creatures. This will be an easy Dawn Feather Eagle here, because there's nothing outside of our colors that's really good here, and Dawn Feather Eagle is a pretty fine card. Probably going to be Countless Gears Renegade out of this pack, for the same reason. Probably the best card in this pack is Sweatworks Brawler, just a 3/3 menace that you can cast for even less than 4 mana if you've got the artifacts to help cast it. Is very aggressive. I've definitely seen a lot of it running around, and it's been a scary card a couple times in my previous drafts, so I think Sweatworks Brawler is probably the best card, but obviously not really trying to hop into red here right now. It's definitely not powerful enough to try to be swapping colors here. This pack seems pretty bad overall. I kind of like Weldfast Monitor, and I kind of like Hinterland Drake, but both of those are kind of off color here. Appetite for the Unnatural. It's definitely possible to play naturalized style effects in this format. There are a ton of artifacts, so you're almost always going to have a target for this. So I guess we could take that, and it may see play in this deck. We'll certainly see. Lifecraft Cavalry is a pretty strong card. It's a very large creature. 5 mana for a 4/4 trample's fine, but if you revolt it, it's 5 mana for a 6/6 trample, and 6/6s are quite large in this format. The only issue is that there's actually quite a few 6/6 like vehicles. But in terms of just straight up creatures, 5 mana 6/6 is really good. Eddy Trail Hawk does work well in a green-white deck, though. It works really well, obviously, with large creatures that are attacking on the ground. So just 5/5, 6/6s, stuff like that. So Eddy Trail Hawk was certainly worth consideration there, and maybe it would have been better to take that for now, just because I've got a lot at my high mana costs already, but that makes this pick extra easy, where I have so much going on at my high mana costs. I definitely want Druid of the Cowl, because not only is it a card that I can play in the early turns of the game, I can also use it to cast all of my late game large stuff. And now I'm just not going to play any of these cards, so I'll just take something I don't have any of in my collection, and I'll just keep taking the cards I have the least of. Then Unbridled Growth. Not actually unplayable. You can definitely splash things in this format. Wow, that's hilarious. You can definitely splash things in this format, and Unbridled Growth will help you do that. The other thing that it helps with a lot is Revolt triggers. So if I play this in the early game and I'm using it to fix my colors, maybe when I get to the late game, maybe turn 5 here, I've got Lifecraft Cavalry in my hand. I don't have any way to trade creatures off to trigger that Revolt. I can just sacrifice Unbridled Growth to draw a card, then one of my permanents has left the battlefield, so Lifecraft Cavalry will come with those extra counters. So it's a fine card. I could actually run it for now, and we'll just cut it if we get a lot of better stuff. Here's going to be a really easy Oath of Ajani. 2 mana, basically a green and white for a sorcery. It puts a +1/+1 counter on all of your creatures. It's kind of like Bozri's Solidarity from the latest core set. If you drafted that, that was a fine card in a deck with a lot of creatures, and we're trying to be a deck with a lot of creatures. And this will also make our Ajani Unyielding cost 1 less if we happen to get that out before Ajani. Now that is really unlikely, but at the same time, while this might not be the best pick or the craziest, most powerful pick, I don't see how anyone on this planet can take Ajani Unyielding and then not take Oath of Ajani. The flavor win there is insane. There was no way I was going to pick anything else there. What do we have in this pack? We don't have anything good for our colors. We have Sage of Shyla's Claim, which is good if we're trying to get a lot of energy, and like Herald of the Fair, which is pretty mediocre. I mean, both of these are pretty filler. Like, Harness Lightning and Whirler Virtuoso are both very good, but they are pretty off color. I can't really splash in a Whirler Virtuoso, but I guess I can splash in Harness Lightning as just decent removal here, especially since we do have an Unbridled Growth already. If we need to pick up more splashing cards, we can pick up Prophetic Prisms and more Unbridled Growths. This pack will be an easy Revoke Privileges, because not a lot else going on under colors. I do like the Bomat Bazaar Barge, but I'm pretty low on like actual creatures, actual early game creatures that would help me crew things like that, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to consistently crew that. I'm already at the point where I'm not so sure about Ballista Charger. So we're going to take Revoke Privileges there. Now we can take a Countless Gears Renegade. Could also take the Eager Construct, 2-mana 2/2 that lets both players scry one when you play it. Kind of a weird card there, but it is really easy to cast. Even if I get stuck on like 2 forests, I can cast it, whereas Countless Gears Renegade, obviously I need a plains of some sort. So it's easier to cast, but I don't know about the ability on that one, whereas Gears Renegade could potentially be more than a 2-mana 2/2. It could spit out a 1/1. Yeah, and then the Sage is just like, I'm not really going to be an energy deck. And I don't really want to take that just to go with the Harness Lightning, because it's very likely I'll end up cutting Harness Lightning and just removing the splash. This will be an easy Druid of the Cowl. Again, lots of stuff at high mana costs that would be great to ramp into with stuff like Druid of the Cowl. Plus, it's a 1/3 body to help slow down my opponents. We do have a couple cards that are good for the deck if we're trying to splash in red removal, though. We have Prophetic Prism, and then we have another red removal spell with Chandra's Revolution, so, I mean, those are worth consideration. Ooh, and Kuchar's Seed Sculptor actually seems pretty fine. 2 mana for a 2/3 by itself, because you can just put a +1/+1 counter on itself. Seems like a good card there, but I definitely want the mana ramp here. Another Unbridled Growth seems not bad at all. I now have 2 Countless Gears Renegades, so even if I don't end up splashing stuff, Unbridled Growth wouldn't be the worst ever, just to use it as a cantrip to trigger early revolts like Countless Gears Renegade. Like, these are really hard to trigger the revolt on turn 2. You really want a 1-drop that will die on turn 2 to do that, and Unbridled Growth is one of the few cards that would do that. I said it again. Every time I see this card, for some reason I say Alley Evasion, like a big doofus. This is Alley Evasion. That is another card that's good at triggering Revolt, but definitely more in the late game because you do have to return a creature you control to your hand to do that. Winding Constrictor is a very fun card. It would be possible to splash that in. I guess I do have 2 Unbridled Growths. I am pretty averse to splashing unless there's like a massive reason to do so. So I think I'm going to still just go with the Seed Sculptor here. I mean, by itself, it's a 2-mana 2/3, which seems really good for a common. And yeah, obviously with other cards, you can just put that counter wherever you want. Don't think this is going to be an inspired charge deck. I suppose we do have a couple cards that come with multiple creatures, but I don't have a ton of creatures right now, and I feel like this deck is more of a late game, dropping down big stuff kind of deck, and Self-Assembler is great in those kind of decks. Actually, if you've watched my other drafts, every draft that I've done in this format, I've had 2 Self-Assemblers in my deck, and I don't really feel like stopping that now. It's just a great card. It's awesome when on turn 5 you can drop a 4/4 and know that you're dropping another 4/4 the next turn. It's a really big way to just get the largest creatures on board in the game. So I don't really like any of these cards. I suppose I'll take Ornamental Courage, and I'm probably not going to play it. Seems like just a random pump spell there. Out of this stuff, I'm not really going to play any of these. I guess I'm taking Salivating Gremlins for my collection. And now, wow, make obsolete pretty late there. We've gotten blown out by that card multiple times. Night Market Aeronaut as well. I feel like that's pretty late for that card. The card's pretty decent. It's not the hardest thing in the world to trigger Revolt on turn 4. And if you can trigger Revolt on Night Market Aeronaut, a 4-mana 3/3 flyer is pretty nice in this format. I have found. I guess I'll take Weldfast Monitor. And now Consulate Skygate, probably not getting played, but Ornithopter is definitely not getting played, and wow, we have a fantastic rare in pack 3 for this deck. Master Trinketer, 3 mana for a 3/2, gives all of your servos and thopters +1/+1, and for 4 mana, you can create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So this is a really good late game mana sink all by itself. It can just assemble an entire army if you have enough mana to do so. So I think this card is quite good. In terms of what we could wheel here that we'd like, definitely a self-assembler. It would be great to have multiple self-assemblers because we're not going to run them if we only have one. We have just better 5-mana 4/4s at that rate. We'd also like to wheel, like, worst case scenario, just another Lifecraft Cavalry or Sky Skiff or something. Those cards are fine. Even just like Aether Inspector. Definitely taking Master Trinketer out of that, though. Alright, we have another Druid of the Cowl, or we have a Propeller Pioneer, a Riparian Tiger, or an Unbridled Growth. A lot of cards that I do like here, and I do like the idea of running in this deck. I think I'm going to roll with another Druid of the Cowl. Once we have like 3 or 4 of these things, we can really go in on 5-drops and bigger, and now at this point, even if we get more self-assemblers, I feel like I wouldn't really have to cut any of my big drops, and we could try to just make bigger stuff than anybody else is playing and kind of win that way. We've got another Dawnfeather Eagle. This card's pretty good. I already have 2 though, and it is high mana cost, so maybe Restoration Specialist here. It would work well if I do end up running the Unbridled Growths. Then it's possible in the late game I could sacrifice this to return an artifact and an enchantment for my grave. Not super likely though, seeing as I only have 2 artifacts and they're pretty late game right now. But yeah, it's between that and a third Dawnfeather Eagle. I already got the 2, I think I'm fine rolling with that for now. Here we have Propeller Pioneer. Pima Aether Seer. 4 mana for a 3/2. It enters the battlefield, get an amount of energy equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You can pay 3 and make it so target creature blocks this turn, if able. So you can kind of use this as a removal spell, because by itself, 4 mana 3/2, it will come with 3 energy. You can basically choose whatever creature you want to block that. You can make it block that. I guess I'll go ahead and take that and try it out. I don't know if it's better than Propeller Pioneer. Propeller Pioneer is probably better, but I do want to try that card out. I've got a lot of big creatures as well that would be able to kill anything that I'm forcing to block them. So, but yeah, since I don't have any 4-drops, I think it was definitely between Pima, Aether Seer, and the Propeller Pioneer there. This pack is not a lot of stuff. Little Pump Spell. Universal Solvent, Dawnfeather Eagle. I suppose I will take another Dawnfeather Eagle at this point. Another Dawnfeather Eagle, or another Druid of the Cowl, or another Skywhaler Shot. Wow. We have 2 Revoke Privileges, 1 Skywhaler Shot, and a Johnny. I guess I could use another Skywhaler Shot, but I really like the idea of the consistency of just a giant stack of Druid of the Cowl. Just try to really get off the ground running in terms of mana ramp. We've got Aviary Mechanic. Seems fine. High Spire Artisan seems okay as well. It's probably one of those 2. I'm gonna roll with the Aviary Mechanic. Alright, this is pick 8, so next pick, I think, is the last chance we have to get a self-assembler, because I think we did open a self-assembler that we'd have liked to wheel there. Ooh, wow. This pack's actually great for us. Glintsleeve Artisan is kind of perfect for this deck. Alright, we're cutting self-assembler because we only have the 1. We don't have a chance to get another one at this point. I'll take the 4 mana card here just to fill out the mana curve, and then I think I'm going to cut a Ballista Charger here as well. I'm not really thinking that vehicles are going to be perfect in this deck. At this point, I think I can also cut Harness Lightning and the Unbridled Growths and the random Pump Spell. And then I guess, I don't know. I'm not playing any of these cards, so we'll just take the rarest card. Again, probably not playing these. So I can probably cut like the Gears Renegades, because now I don't have great ways to trigger their revolts. And then maybe a Restoration Specialist, because I don't have things to bring back with it, so it's just a 2 mana 2/1. And this is a 23 card deck. This could be the deck. Definitely a wonky curve, but with... I still have 2 Unbridled Growths in here somehow? Maybe I was not paying attention. I thought I cut those. Okay, anyways. Without the Druid of the Cowls, this curve does look pretty wonky, but I think with 4 Druid of the Cowls, this deck looks pretty fun. And definitely, it could work. It could do some stuff. I don't know. Pretty weird deck here. Definitely quite a bit different from the first couple decks that I've done. But I think I'll roll with it. I'm not really seeing anything in my sideboard that's going to make this deck particularly better. I suppose I could cut the Unbridled Growths in favor of just putting the Countless Gears Renegades back in, just to have more creatures in the deck. And that seems fine. I mean, Unbridled Growth doesn't really do anything when I'm only 2 colors. And I don't have any early game revolts that I have to trigger. By the time that I have cards that I want to trigger revolt on, I'll have plenty of ways to try to trade off creatures. Yeah, I've got the 1 revolt card at 5 mana. I don't really need the growths. So I guess we can put the Gears Renegades back in. They're certainly better than Restoration Specialist in this deck. We don't have any... I guess we have Revoke privileges that could go to the grave, but that's in such a specific situation where either it gets milled or my opponent sacrifices the creature that I put it on. In that situation, I guess I could bring things back from the grave with Restoration Specialist, but that's such a long shot that it's probably worth just having a 2/2 that could potentially make a servo over just a 2/1 that will very rarely do anything. So, this is 40 cards, 4 Druid of the Cowl, means I think we're good with 17 lands here, even though we do have like 5 or 6 mana cards here. Yeah, and again, I'm not seeing anything in the sideboard that's particularly great. I suppose we can put a Ballista Charger back in, maybe cut like Appetite for the Unnatural or something. But I think I'm cool with the deck as it is. Let's see how green-white a Johnny.deck goes. Yeah, I'm definitely not sure about my card evaluations during the draft this time. Very unfamiliar with the green cards of the set and the pick orders that might be best for them. Alright, heading into round 1 here. We'll see how this goes. We do have a Johnny in hand, but we need to draw 4 more lands before we can cast that. In the meantime, we're playing an Aviary Mechanic, hoping that it holds down the fort, and then we have Skywheeler Shot and Appetite for the Unnatural, so we have a little bit of removal here. If we can hit lands, my opponent is going first, but I feel this hand is still pretty risky. This is a really difficult choice for me, but I think I will mulligan that one, and this looks a lot better. We can cast all this stuff. I'll keep it and just get rid of the Appetite, I think. Still don't have a lot of creatures with this hand, though, is the issue. Alright, Dawnfeather Eagle is another creature, but it is a late game one. Opponent starts with Blooming Marsh into Renegade Map, so they could easily be 3-color. Looks like they are Jund at the very least. Green, black, and red. And Long Tusk Cub it is. This is a really strong card. Really, really strong card. I'm 100% going to be willing to Skywheeler Shot that once it gets a counter on it. So this gets 2 energy whenever it does combat damage to a player, and then you can pay that 2 to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's essentially a 2-mana 2/2 that gets a +1/+1 counter every time it hits your opponent. So it turns into a 3/3, then a 4/4. It just gets very large very quickly. And if you have any other energy cards in your deck, you can either just bank that energy to use on something else, or just acquire energy from your other cards to make this even larger, even faster. Really scary card. This card was an absolute house in some standard decks as well. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, where it's super rough. Where they just play Thriving Rhino, now they've got 2 energy, bam, Long Tusk Cub's already a 3/3, I can't block it with Countless Gears Renegade, it's a 4/4 once it hits me. Just a bad time. And the thing with it too is they can do that at instant speed as well, so they didn't even have to put the counter on it until I chose to block with Gears Renegade. They could have tried to trick me there, but I mean, they're Platinum, I'm Platinum, I think they knew that I would know that that was a possibility. So I can Druid of the Cowl, that'll allow me to Dawn Feather Eagle next turn if I really want to, but I feel like I want to just hold up Skywheeler's Shot, pass. Hoping that they spend their energy to put another counter on the Cub here. I feel like, though, with my only creature being this 2/2, wow, I'm 100% okay with them using removal on the Renegade. I feel like that was pretty unnecessary, because they can attack and then they have a 3/3 and a 3/4 if they just put the counter on the Rhino. There's no way the 2/2 blocks and does anything well. I suppose that way does play around... it plays around a pump spell very well. So that's fair enough. Another Dawn Feather Eagle. I do have the mana to cast that as soon as I play a Druid of the Cowl, so I think that's fine. I'm okay with taking a damage here to make sure I can Dawn Feather Eagle next turn. Or taking 3 damage, that is. Because they're a green deck, so it's also very possible they'll play something that is even scarier than Thriving Rhino I'll need to deal with. Alternatively, they could also put another +1/+1 counter on it, and then I really need to deal with it, so... There's that. They have got a 2/1 First Striker out, but they have no more energy, so if they don't play any more energy cards... Oh my god, this is so bad! Jund energy, and they have all the synergies in the world. Oh yeah, this one just spits out servos. Thank god. I thought this one was also one that gets +1/+1 counters. If it was, that would have been really bad for me, because then they could pump it up into a 3/2 First Striker. So I can play Master Trinketer, and then I have 3 mana up, so I can't make a servo immediately if I do that. Or I can just cast a Dawn Feather Eagle. I kind of want to play Dawn Feather Eagle, because then if I draw basic land, I can just go Master Trinketer and create a little chump blocking servo. That seems fine. Oops. Because Master Trinketer blocks just as well as Dawn Feather Eagle does right now, which is not well at all. So if I'm blocking with anything, it's going to be in a chump situation, and I'd rather chump with an Eagle than a Trinketer. Yeah, I guess I'm taking 6. I go to 4 life. Ooh, this is rough. Quite a synergistic energy deck going on over there. Until they play Double Fireweaver. Double Fireweaver's a little weird. I guess we have seen 1 artifact so far. But everything else has been just insanely good. Alright, well now we can Druid of the Cowl and Master Trinketer. And now I do have a lot of toughness in terms of blockers here. As soon as they attack with an Aether Chaser, they can spit out a servo and do 2 damage to me with Reckless Fireweavers. So, okay. Not if they do that. If they do that, they don't have the energy to make the servos anymore. But I do need to worry anytime they play a single card that comes into play with 2 energy. They can just spit out 2 servo, well, 1 servo and kill me, so... That would be if I take, like, 2 damage here. I think I have to stop, like, all the damage if I can. I suppose I could stop 3 damage by blocking with just a single Druid of the Cowl. Because then I go to 3 life. If they make a servo token, I go to 1, which is still alive. If they make 2 servos, I die, but that was already the case. Wait. What? Oh my god, I wasn't even calculating for the fact that they gave it +2/+2. If I blocked with Druid of the Cowl and they didn't buff it, I would have went to 3. I don't know what is going on with my brain today, but it's weird. It's a situation. So I can Dawn Feather Eagle or I can spit out a servo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't have enough mana to make 2 servos. This is just bad. I guess I'm playing a Dawn Feather Eagle. It's going to be a larger blocker than a servo, and that's what I need. I need as big of a blocker as I can get. And this allows me to ping them for 4, so at least, like, doesn't look so brutal. Yeah, now I'm just dead because they have 1 more creature than me. Well, definitely played quite poorly there, but that game was going to be a loss no matter what. Very synergistic energy deck from our opponent. The ability of those energy cards to utilize the energy of whatever just entered the battlefield on whatever they played the last turn was putting a lot of pressure on me. It's quite impressive. So yeah, by themselves, the energy cards, they come with the 2 energy and then they don't get to use them till they attack, so they don't get to use them till the next turn. But when you just immediately play a card that gives you 2 more energy, when you have something else already out that uses the energy, that's when you can put pressure on really quickly. And that is what definitely cost me that game there. Very brutal, aggressive deck. Alright, heading into round 2 here. See if we can get some action going here. Oh. Alright. Looks like this might be the justice round, where my 7 win streaks are going to come to an end here. Suppose in all fairness, after 2 7-win runs, you got to get a 0-win run to kind of even it out. Yeah, this hand is not going to do anything. This hand's not good either. Double white cards here. I'm going to keep it, though. Definitely not going to mulligan to 5. I feel like that's most likely a death sentence. Ooh, opponent's got one of the fancy old school lands. Very nice. Those actually look really cool on the battlefield. They look like they do in Chandalar, that old Magic the Gathering PC game, which is pretty cool. So my opponent is on white-red with a Prophetic Prism out, so they can be splashing stuff in. Maybe Boros splashing in like a Cloud Blaze or something. Opponent is off to a great start with Aerial Responder. That is a fantastic card. 3 mana for 2/3, Flying, Vigilance, Lifelink. Just a stack of great abilities on that. Suppose I get to spread out a bunch of ground troops here, but none of them are big enough to even attack into a Aerial Responder without just letting them gain 2 life. So we're in a very bad position already. I've just drawn a bunch of my 2-drops. I'm going to need to draw a removal for Aerial Responder, or that is going to take over the game by itself. Weldfast Monitor coming out, 3 mana, 3/2. It can gain Menace for a red mana. Not super scary in this position. I have a ton of blockers. I don't have a way to trigger Countless Gears Renegades. Servo. It's probably fine. We can just cast it. And we're passing turn here because attacking does not accomplish anything. If I attack with the Seed Sculptor, they'll just gain 2 life. If I attack with the Seed Sculptor and all of the Druids, then I'll just have a Druid die to the Weldfast Monitor and they'll gain 1 life. It's not looking great. We're early enough into the game now that I'm just going to 16 here, so I mean technically I'm very far from dead, but just the relative power level of the cards cast by both players is in our opponent's favor. Well, they just had to cast Aerial Responder, and that card alone like equals the power level of all 4 of my cards combined, essentially. Oh boy, and yeah, Enraged Giant as well coming out. That is also quite thick. And we've got a land. We're going to pass turn. So, I mean, we definitely keep playing. We don't just scoop here, even though our opponent has cast some big stuff. Because, like, we got to play to our outs. I mean, if we draw a Johnny Unyielding, then, like, we're good. But other than that, I don't think we have many other outs. If we draw a Johnny Unyielding, we can kill the Aerial Responder, and then we can block everything they attack it with the next turn, and then start using that plus ability to draw cards out of it. That would be our one way to really get back into this game. But obviously that's because Planeswalkers are ridiculously powerful cards. I think there's pretty much nothing else in our deck that'll do it. Master Trinketer would be okay. So yeah, Master Trinketer would be okay. A removal spell would be fine. Other than that, we're not doing so hot. With a removal spell, we'd be able to survive for a little while, and with a Master Trinketer, we'd be able to survive for a little while. And yeah, but that would just be surviving long enough to attempt to draw Johnny. That Johnny is the only thing that's going to put in any work here. And it's getting to the point where Johnny probably won't either, now that they have two creatures that can potentially have Menace, Weldfast Monitor, and Sweatworks Brawler. And they have Enraged Giant with Trample, and they have Aerial Responder with Flying. Obviously, I would kill Aerial Responder with the Johnny's Minus ability, but that still leaves them with three, like, pseudo-evasive creatures. Okay, so I guess I can Appetite for the Unnatural on the Weldfast Monitor, gain a couple life there, slow down my opponents. Sweatworks Brawler, I can make it so they only trade with one of my cards by blocking it like this. They trade with a Druid of the Cowl or a 2/2, and that seems super fine with me. But that leaves it so I can't kill Enraged Giant this turn, which isn't great. I could kill Enraged Giant with a 2/2 and a 2/3, which would actually be pretty sweet. Yeah. If they don't have a pump spell there, they're trading with a 2/3 for their 4/4. And then they can't really attack with Sweatworks Brawler again, because then I can block that with a 2/2 and a 1/3. So this would stop basically all their ground attacks in the future, if they don't have a pump spell. If they do have a pump spell, that'll be real bad, if that is their one card in hand. Go ahead and blow up the Weldfast Monitor as well, gain a couple life. They can sacrifice Restoration Specialist to get it back to their hand, but that's really not the end of the world. They're just upgrading their 2/1 into a 3/2 Trample. Unless they have an... Okay, yeah, I was going to say, unless they have an enchantment in their grave as well, they're not actually, like, really getting a ton of value out of that. So yeah, this is fine. It's definitely still the play. Another land. Not great. Not great. I think we're getting a message. We're getting a message from the arena gods. My luck has gotten me too far with those 7-win runs, especially since that last draft. I did make a lot of misplays. And I felt pretty bad about. Well, that is really rough. Now I don't have a way to kill the Menace Sweatworks Brawler. I mean, I can kill the Weldfast Monitor if they want to attack with everybody here, which is definitely the play. I can only block one of them anyway, because they both have Menace. So I'm going to take 5 regardless here, so I may as well kill a creature. Oh boy. That is game. That is 5 unblockable damage, since I only have one creature to block Menace, and nothing to block the flying there. Super rough. We're off to a 0-2 start. Maybe we'll get the 0-3 run here. I mean, if you always look on the bright side, I mean, it gives me more free time to just go play PlayStation 5 or something. It's not another 2-hour-long draft, I guess. Boy. Well, yeah, also looking on the bright side, worst case scenario here, we've gotten some cool cards for our collection. We got a Johnny. We got Oath of a Johnny. But I'm certainly not proud of the results of this draft so far. I think definitely held on to a Johnny unyielding a little strong. It didn't feel like there were any super great reasons to be in green or white getting passed to us outside of the Johnny. But it is really, really hard to convince yourself to swap colors off of a mythic rare planeswalker. So I guess looking back at the drafting process, what we could have done probably best would have been turned a Johnny into a splash, because we were ending up with instances where we could have taken Prophetic Prisms. We ended up with a ton of Unbridled Growths, so maybe we should have pivoted into like green-red, splashing in a Johnny off of Unbridled Growths. I think that might have been the best position we could have been in. I suppose I did have like Revoke Privileges in white, but yeah, I don't think we're winning this game either. I guess I should probably revoke an Aetherborn here, because I can block Pillar Bug. But yeah, maybe this is just defeatist attitude, but I feel like I'm already on the back foot here. They're going to sit here and gain a ton of life, because I don't think I'm going to revoke the second one. I already have 6 lands in hand. Anyways, I'm still trying to think back on that draft. Yeah, I think I definitely should have actually ended up splashing things in, which I did not end up doing. That would have been for the best. That is a 3/4 now, so Seed Sculpture's not going to be able to block it. I'm at 18 though. I can wait a little bit just in case. They're in green-black. It is very likely they play a 5/4 trample or a 4/4 trample or anything like that this turn. Oof. Yeah, that's bad. A 3/3 that draws them a card since they have a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. Not what I was looking for. Pima Aetherseer, that's interesting. Get some energy, I can spend that and make it so one of their creatures has to block at some point, but as you can see, my creatures are not larger than theirs right now. Alright, well, I can make a double block. They can only kill one of my creatures. If they have an instant speed trick, the game's very over. But I think it's most likely they just have the lifelink ability, and that is what is going on. Awesome. So I'm at 12. I don't have a creature big enough to block that 3/3. There's the 4/4 trample. That can even attack as a 6/6 trample. So there's the card we're going to revoke privileges on. So, yeah, the other factor in this draft is there has been, I mean, with the awkward curve, our draws haven't been that unreasonable. That is one of the biggest downsides of our deck, has been this awkward curve, but we have also drawn just a large amount of lands. So that is a factor there. I don't think it's the main factor. I think the main factor in our losses here is completely fair. Our deck just was not drafted super hot this time around. You win some, you lose some. We did our best. 2 7-win runs to start the format is pretty groovy. I'll take my 0-3 and run with it. So I guess they kill Aether Inspector here so that I can't spit out servos. But still definitely making that block. We're going to take 2, 3 this turn, because they do have that, making a servo, or a Thopter every turn. So we're dead next turn if we don't draw into something great, and even a Johnny doesn't help at this point. Just a Druid of the Cowl is definitely not great. So that is going to be game. They just make their 4th power flyer. There is the answer. We're going to scoop them up. That is a 0-3 Kaladesh Remastered draft. Ooh. Just sprinkle that right on top of the 2 7-win runs. Hilarious. Also, it's kind of hilarious that this was the this is the one that I made sure to make the sponsored draft too before I started this draft. That's pretty awkward. Well, let's check out what we got in our 1-pack. See if we got anything cool for our collection. I mean, we got a Johnny Unyielding. You can't be super angry about that. We got some cool stuff already. Let's see what our rare is. Yahenni's Expertise. All of the Expertise cards are really cool. They do their immediate effect of, this one is a 4-mana sorcery. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. And then the secondary effect is you also get to cast something cheaper than them for free. So if you have a card that costs 3 or less in your hand, you cast it for free. Really interesting with suspend cards. There aren't any suspend cards on Arena right now, but if they ever add them in the future, there are some cards with suspend that the only way you can cast them is by suspending them. And what suspend is you pay the suspend cost, maybe it's like 1 red mana, and then you suspend it for X number of turns, say it's suspend 10 for 1 red mana, and then you exile it, and then 10 turns later you cast it for free. So there are these cards that are like really slow, but they have really powerful effects. Well, technically, they don't have a mana cost, because the only way you can cast them is by suspending them on some of them. And because they don't have a mana cost, if you cast something like an expertise card, like Yehedi's Expertise, you can just immediately cast the suspend card without waiting several turns to do it. So that's a really fun combo, really cool combo with the Expertise cards that you can do in Paper Magic, in Commander and stuff, but not really a thing on Arena yet. That would be cool to see in the future. Anyways, that was the unfortunate draft run this time around. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want more. I would like a little bit of discussion in the comments on this one if you have any tips and tricks that you thought may have helped in this draft. Things where you think went wrong, because I think that's probably one of the most interesting things that you can look back on in the drafts is don't really just take the 0-3 run and be like, well, I drew a million lands. Like, no, what was wrong with the deck? What could we have done better? That's the more interesting thing to think about, and the stuff that can help us for our next Premier Draft around. So I already kind of said my personal thoughts on it. I think that I clung to Ajani really hard and tried to stick very strictly into green-white. Maybe it would have even been better to be white-red splashing in green, because we were seeing a lot of great red removal around. So yeah, white-red splashing green off Prophetic Prisms or something like that. Probably that kind of thing would have worked best. I don't know, something like that. I think we definitely messed up in the drafting process, and even in terms of sticking to green-white, our mana curve ended up really awkward, where during our gameplay we ended up with just a stack of 2 drops, or we ended up with a stack of 6 drops or 5 drops, stuff like that. So that certainly didn't work great. I think I was relying on the Druid of the Cowls to kind of smooth out the curve way too heavily. We just didn't have a lot in the middle of the curve, but a little amount of that, of course, can be attributed to just the RNG of draws as well. Well, as always, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more Magic Arena content, stick around and I'll be back again very soon with some more. I will definitely be back during the Historic event coming up next week. They're doing Historic Brawl for a week long, so I'm going to try to do a lot of Historic Brawl gameplay. Probably not going to be able to do a video a day, because I do have a lot of busy stuff going on in work coming up in these next couple days. But I'll be back again soon, and I mean soon. I mean within a few days at the latest with more Magic Arena content. So thanks for watching yet again, and I will see you soon.